721 here, Big 550, KTRS. John Grunsfeld is the Associate Administrator for the Science Mission with NASA, a background in NASA, including an astronaut's office in 1992. Good morning, John Grunsfeld. John Grunsfeld, are you there?
Worked in rehearsal.
It did work in rehearsal. It was perfect in rehearsal. There is a new probe that will reach Pluto's orbit tomorrow. It's called the New Horizons mission, and Associate Administrator John Grunsfeld was supposed to be joining us here in
We got him on the phone.
mere moments. Mr. John Grunsfeld, welcome to Big 550 KTRS here in St. Louis.
Good morning, St. Louis.
This New Horizons launched January 19th, 2006, and after a couple of overnight rest stops along the way, it's going to land in Pluto's orbit tomorrow?
Actually, it's going so fast we can't slow it down. It's going to go slinging by the Pluto system tomorrow, but we're going to get the best images and science ever from going by Pluto. It's going to be remarkable.
Okay, so have there been any glitches in the last, say, 12, 13 years?
Well, for the most part, the mission's been going really smoothly. Of course, it's a space mission. It's complex. This is NASA. It's hard. So there's always glitches, but we've been able to overcome those. There was one just a couple of days ago that surprised us, that made us very nervous. But right now, everything is smooth sailing as we prepare to fly by Pluto and its 5 moons.
You say it's going so fast. How fast is it going?
I think it's going about 16,000 kilometers an hour, but I'd have to check that.
All right, so that's faster than 55
miles an hour. About 30,000 miles an hour.
30,000 miles an hour. So there are people here on Earth who are directing it or are still driving it, in a sense?
Well, actually, the spacecraft is pretty much driving itself at this point, although we're certainly watching it very carefully here from Earth. It's a little bit hard to drive because it takes about 9.5 hours for a signal to go round trip from the Earth to the spacecraft and back.
What are we going to find out about Pluto that is so valuable?
Pluto and the system of 5 moons is so far away that it's a remnant from when the solar system formed. So we're trying to answer the question of, how did the solar system form? How did the Earth form and get to be the way it is now? And we believe that Pluto is a member of the outer region of the solar system that's pretty much intact from 4.5 billion years ago when the solar system formed. So this is a really exciting time to look at the building blocks of our own solar system. And so we're going to be able to study the geology, the mineralogy. Pluto actually has an atmosphere that contains nitrogen and methane, and these, of course, are critical components for the Earth. Much of our atmosphere is nitrogen. So we're going to learn a lot about, how these objects form, which will tell us a little bit about how our solar system formed. So it's a very exciting time. It's a brand new frontier for us.
When we sent the missions to Mars, we were looking for water, because if there's water, then there's a chance for life. Isn't Pluto one giant block of ice?
Well, Pluto's density is pretty low, so we do believe that it probably has water ice, it has some rock, it has nitrogen ice, methane ice, even carbon monoxide ice, and these are the kind of things we're going to learn about it as we fly by it. We're going to actually measure what's in the surface. So it may, in fact, have quite a lot of water. So far out in the solar system, when the solar system formed, there wasn't gaseous water the way there was around the Earth. It would have all been ice, and that ice should have come together and probably formed icy moons and perhaps an icy Pluto. That's one of the things we want to learn.
You found some dark spots in some areas. What does that mean?
Well, there was some possibility that we'd fly by Pluto and it would just be a gray or reddish fuzzball with a thick atmosphere, and we wouldn't see anything. But now that we've gotten closer, the images are much better than we had from the Hubble Space Telescope, and we're actually seeing all kinds of features. We're seeing some features on the surface that, if we're looking at a planet like Earth, would sort of resemble the different regions on Mars, say, where there's some very dark regions and some light regions, and it means that the geology is different, that Pluto's not a simple planet, it's a very complex world, and that's very exciting for the geologists and the planetary scientists.
What happens to the spaceship after it sort of passes through Pluto?
So it goes zipping by Pluto in just under 2 days, takes all of these images, and then it's going to rotate, face back towards Earth, and over the following year and a half, it's going to beam all of that imagery and data back to the Earth. But it's going to keep going. It's going so fast, it's going to leave the solar system. And what we're hoping to do with the spacecraft is give it a little bit of a nudge so that it can go and visit another one of these distant objects. We call them Kuiper Belt objects, but one of these distant worlds further out in the outer solar system.
Have you been able to take a picture of the sun from Pluto?
Pluto is, after it goes by Pluto New Horizons, after it goes zipping by Pluto, it's going to turn around and actually look at the sun and use the sun to make measurements of Pluto's atmosphere, and it's also going to try and spot the Earth from that great distance.
Really, it's science fiction.
fascinating.
John Grunsfeld, too much time here, and I know that there's going to be a lot over the next couple of weeks and months and years about all the things you discover. But can, in layman's terms, can you explain how a spaceship going by a planet can sort of figure out the makeup of the atmosphere?
Sure. Chemical elements like nitrogen molecules, carbon monoxide, methane, give off unique signatures in certain wavelengths of light, certain colors of light. And so we have special cameras on the spacecraft that can identify those individual colors and identify what those molecules are. And then as the spacecraft looks back at the sun, some of that sunlight will be absorbed in the atmosphere, and we'll be able to see, even more detail about what's in the atmosphere of Pluto. So basically, it's from the colors. Each element gives off a unique color. So you can imagine if you're looking at rock and the rock is red, you can infer that there's iron in that rock. If the rock is green, you can infer that there's copper. That's your basic geology. We use the same techniques, but in much more detail to try and understand the surface of Pluto.
John Grunsfeld, you performed 8 spacewalks in your days. What do you tell people when they ask you, what is it like to walk in space?
I tell them it's absolutely magical. There's nothing I'd rather do than be in a spacesuit, orbiting the beautiful Earth, hopefully repairing the Hubble Space Telescope or doing some useful work. But it's just a magical experience.
Did you ever get scared?
The only thing I got scared about was messing up and breaking something.
That's a good point.
You're so high up, you're not afraid of heights anymore, right? I mean, that's sort of you're so high up, you're not afraid, I guess, right?
Some astronauts have talked about having a fear of falling when they've been out doing a spacewalk, but you're absolutely right. You're so high up that it does, and you're floating, it's just incredible. But you can let go and you don't go anywhere. You let go of a handrail on the space shuttle or on the Hubble Space Telescope or the space station, and you stay right there. So that even though you technically are falling, you don't feel like it. So it's really just a wonderful experience.
John Grunsfeld, thank you for a fascinating conversation. Good luck to you, sir.
My pleasure, and good morning, St. Louis.
There you go.
Thank you.
7:30 here, Big 550, KTRS.
That is fascinating.
That's really interesting.